Thanks for having me. So to start off with, you have heard a little bit about the sex education and critical race theory that has been used in California schools. But I wanted to kind of give you a quick overview of the bills that our state legislature has passed over the last 2 decades to transform the way public schools teach children about gender, about sexual identity, sexual behavior, and now race. So I believe much of the change to California's school curriculum started when the state added LGBTQ identities as a protected class within its anti-discrimination and civil rights laws. Now, one of the first bills to pass regarding this was back in 2000, and it was titled the Student Safety and Violence Prevention Act. Okay, this bill protected students from discrimination, which sounds good, based on a new category of sexual orientation and gender identity. Now, a lot of people didn't think this was bad, like what's the implications? But as the years progressed, we started to see what the implications of this actually was. In 2007, California further clarified what this protection from discrimination should look like when it passed another law. It was called the California Student Civil Rights Act. This law prohibited teachers from giving instructions that, and I quote, reflects or promotes a discriminatory bias against any person, okay? So practically what that means is that teachers could not make comments or teach anything that would reflect poorly on transgenderism, same-sex behavior or relationships, or teach anything that would actually favor a traditional Bible understanding of what the family was, okay? All right, it continues. In 2011, it's now time to eliminate discrimination and bias in school curriculum by transforming the minds of kids regarding sexual orientation, gender identity. And they did this through a bill called the Fair Education Act, or SB 48, and it was passed to require the introduction of LGBT heroes into K through 12 social studies curriculum. Okay, I don't think a lot of the legislators, knew exactly what the curriculum was actually going to look like in print, but after about 7 years, we finally found out. And just as an example, McGraw-Hill, which is a very large national publisher, they published in their elementary school social studies curriculum, and this is already used throughout the state. And here's some examples. In first grade, he wasn't governor then, but Gavin Newsom is introduced to first graders as the champion of people's rights. And you're thinking, now what did he do to deserve that? Well, because he was the first person to marry same-sex couples as the mayor of San Francisco. Of course, it was actually illegal when he did that, but that's not mentioned in the curriculum. In second grade, kids learn honesty from the first drag queen in the country to run for office, because that drag queen was honest about who they were when they ran for office. But this particular drag queen, children are actually told to look up to, but it doesn't mention that he actually has a criminal record for his sexual activity in a public bathroom. Then in third grade, kids learn about the LGBT icon Harvey Milk. Now he's pretty famous. We have an actual day to celebrate him here in California. He's lauded for his honesty and bravery for fighting for LGBT rights. But again, children are being told to admire a man that is well known for having a sexual relationship with a 16-year-old teenager when he was 30. Then in 2013, we're now 2013, in this continual crusade to eliminate all discrimination bias, California introduced and passed a bill. It was AB 1266, commonly known as the School Bathroom Bill. Now, this law required schools to let students participate in sex-segregated sports and activities and use bathrooms and showers based not on their biological sex, but on their gender identity, regardless of the gender listed on the public school's records for the pupil. All right, so that means boys and girls sports, boys and girls bathrooms, boys and girls showers. All right, now we're up to 2015 when we get to the transformation of sex education, and that comes with a bill called AB 329, commonly known as the California Healthy Youth Act. Okay, this law mandated that every school district provide comprehensive sex education lessons with no bias against LGBT sexual behavior and relationships. So they have to teach this once in junior high and once in high school. And elementary schools now can teach this comprehensive sex ed if they want to. Parents can still opt their kids out, but they have to initiate it. Okay, now here we're almost to the present, and finally we come to ethnic studies education, which is already taught in some California schools as an elective, but it is now being proposed as a high school mandated course. For the past year or so, California Department of Ed has been working on a ethnic studies model curriculum. And last year there was a bill that actually got to the governor's desk to require all high school students to take an ethnic studies course in high school. But controversy arose during the summer when the Department of Ed released a draft of their model ethnic studies curriculum for the public input. There were a lot of people upset. All right, the curriculum is full of critical race theory, which you've already learned a little bit about today. It divides everyone into racial and gender and religious groups, with some labeled as oppressors and some as the oppressed. Now, California Jewish leaders and legislators didn't like how the Jews were being treated as oppressors, so Governor Newsom vetoed the high school requirement bill back in November, temporarily saying there needs to be a few more changes to the curriculum. Okay, but the bill is back this year as AB 101, and just today, the California State Board of Education unanimously approved a new version of the ethnic studies model curriculum, which will guide book publishers and school districts in creating their own ethnic studies courses into the future. The curriculum is still horrific and will only result in pitting Californians against each other. So all of this legislation just gives you a brief overview of how the state legislature has effectively and systematically transformed education to its liking in order to transform our lives and the lives of our children for the worse. Thank you so much.